So where are we at?
Hebrews 11.
Hebrews 11. Well, we'll be at Hebrews 12, but we go over Hebrews 11, so that is correct. Hebrews 11. So, again with Hebrews, Paul or whomever wrote this is talking to them and showing how the promise that they've been promised all throughout their faith and their religion has brought them up unto this point. And he goes in all of 11 to show how it was faith and how that by faith they got up to this point. Starting right off of verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So if anybody ever says, what is faith? There's your definition. Right there in the very first chapter. Hebrews 11 chapter 11 verse 1. It's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So faith comes from the word pistis, and that is just your credence or your moral conviction to God, and especially reliance upon Christ for salvation, the truth itself, assurance, belief, faith, fidelity, but faith ultimately, substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. That's how all their records and all that they had got down to that point, to where they were. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. So through faith, we understand that the worlds, anybody catch that one? That the worlds were framed by the word of God. So what does it mean by worlds? Does it mean that there's different planets and gods over them too? Do they have the same rules we do? Are they the same creatures? Are they still made in the image of Christ? Kind of not really what they're saying here. So this comes from the word aeon. A-I-O-N. And by properly it means an age. Sorry. So, older people. I was talking to one last night. Dude, he was 79, he's about to be 80. And he said, you wouldn't believe it, but it was a different world back then. That's what it's talking about here through the worlds. Through the ages, how much has changed, different time periods, different set. And also by this one, it means the container for the contained. I thought that was a pretty cool definition. The container for the contained. So when you put a rabbit in a cage, kind of, that's its world. When you put a fish in a tank, that's now its world. And it donates the worlds or the universe. But it's understand the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. By faith, Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. So even though Abel was dead, through faith they had that record, the good report, all the way up through. By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found because God had translated him. For before his translation, he had this testimony that he pleased God. So the translated here, it really just means changed. To go through straight into your immortal being. He didn't have to die and become that first. He just was transformed. That'd be pretty cool to not have to die and go through all of it. I don't really know how that would work though. It'd probably hurt a little bit. You ever feel like it hurts? Like when you get up there and you get to heaven, like the change is probably gonna, all the sin and bad stuff has to be ripped out and wiped away. It might just hurt for a little bit, like ow, and then you're good forever after that. Maybe. But without faith, it is impossible to please Him. If you didn't have faith, you wouldn't believe in God. So if you don't believe in God, why do the things that God wants you to do? That is why faith is the shield and is the most important. It is what in the armor of God, it said, but above all, the shield of faith that was put on there. The shield of faith is what protects your mind and everything from it, your body and all of it. The shield of faith is what protects you from attacks, the fiery darts from the devil, it would say. Because it keeps you believing. It's what makes you believe. It's how you believe, so that all the rest follows with it. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So if you didn't believe, what would be the point of all that they went through, and what would be the point of what they're going through now? And it gets into that a little bit later. By faith, Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world, and became heir of righteousness, which is by faith. So because Noah had faith, him and his family got to live, and everybody else died. Got washed away in the flood. I don't know if he got to necessarily pick the animals, but because of his faith, animals got to live. Because of his faith and him believing in God and moving with fear, faith and fear go hand in hand, everything got to continue. God was about to wipe it clean, but because Noah had faith, he got to keep going. By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into the place which he should have after received for inheritance, obeyed, and he went out not knowing whither he went. God just said, hey, go. And he was like, okay, I don't know where I'm going or what I'm going to do or how I'm going to get there, but you told me to go, I'm going to go. And that's why he got the promise. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. So his children got the promise, and it went on down through his seed to the new promise that they're at now. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God. Through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. So she, through her faith that Abraham was doing the right thing by God, got to have the child. And does anybody remember what the child's name was? Which one is this one? No. Not yet.
Isaac.
You're an eon or two before.
Isaac.
Yes, it was Isaac. So they got to have Isaac from that. Therefore sprang there even of one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable. So he was very old when this happened. Abraham was as good as dead, even, it says. But because of the faith, he got to have the promise, have the children. And this is just a quick little lineage chart, but it goes down by Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah, Jacob, all the way down through by Leah to David to Jesus. And there's a lot in between that and everything, but it's just a real quick how to get down through there. These all died in faith. They all died before Jesus came. Some of them a long time before, some of them just before. But either way, they never got to see Jesus. Not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on earth. So they knew it was coming, and they had faith it was going to be there, and they had faith that if they did the right thing, that eventually through them, this would happen, this event. Even though they weren't going to see it. Would you work if you knew you were never going to see a paycheck? If you knew that like your grandchild would get the paycheck maybe, but you're not going to get it, would you work? Well, a lot of us do anyway. A lot of us try to do the right things. A lot of us make things better when we can. Not necessarily for us, but for who comes after us. But now, lately, we've kind of dropped the ball, and what comes after us for our children is it's going to be rough. The odds aren't necessarily stacked against our favor, but that's what faith is for. That's what the hope of the things unseen is for, to keep pushing them forward. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. We'll get there eventually. Hey, we're just pilgrims. We're moving through. We're going to die. Then we'll get there. It is what it is. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. If at any time they were like, well, look, we've been going around for a long time, I'm kind of losing hope and faith in this, let's just turn around and go back to where we were, where we already existed. But they didn't. But now they desire a better country, that is a heavenly, wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared them a city. By faith, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and he that had received the promise offered up his only begotten son. Kind of a strong test here that he was put through. Hey, you have your only son, sacrifice him. So he's like, ooh, I really don't want to do this. So he took Isaac up there. Gary did this on Wednesday, told this story. It's funny, me and Sean were in the back, and I was like, I wonder what they talked about on the way up there. You know, that had to be really weird and awkward. Sean was like, so, how was school? I thought that was funny. But, yeah, it was a rough test by faith. Of whom it was said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called, accounting that God was able to raise him up even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. So even still, it was kind of weird for him. He was like, well, if I'm going to kill him, then God's going to raise him up. I don't really know what's going on, but God said to do it, so I'm going to do it. And now, God being about to do the same thing later on, had to find someone who was willing to do the same thing as he was, which was Abraham through this. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau. Is everybody familiar with that story? Jacob and Esau? Concerning things to come. By faith, Jacob, when he was a-dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph and worshipped leaning upon the top of his staff. By faith, Joseph, when he had died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel and gave commandments concerning his bones. Anybody know what those commandments were? Yeah, to take his bones and bury them in a certain place from all that. But Jacob and Esau, remember them, because through that they had the promise, but it wasn't always easy or good for these two brothers here. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents because they saw he was a proper child and they were not afraid of the king's commandments. The king was saying, kill your firstborns. Now, America and Canada and all that's not doing that yet, but if they do, I really hope nobody kills their kids if the government tells them to, but I don't have faith in that much anymore. But they were like, no, we're not going to do it, so they kept them, took them. They were smart, put them in a basket, hid them, showed them to Pharaoh's daughter. She was like, oh, I want this kid. I like this one. And so she, little known, I don't know why it's little known, but it doesn't really go with the movie stories, gave him back to Moses' mom. It was like, all right, keep nursing him, and then he can just come on back when he gets older and everything, and we'll give him a pretty cool life in the temple and all that. But by faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God that enjoyed the pleasures of sin for a season, than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. Esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respected unto the recompense of the reward. So this is something to think about, kind of. He grew up kind of half and half. I don't think when he got to 3-4 years old or weaned, he went into Pharaoh's house and Pharaoh's daughter and just never seen his mom or dad again. I don't think he was hidden or not ever mingling with the Hebrew people, and that's probably why they knew him and recognized him, because how would he know about all the promises, and how would he know about the Jewish religion and the faith that came through there? And why would he choose that over the lavish, easy lifestyle that he had? Because he knew up to that point, because he had heard that. Esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of reward. He's like, I want that one that's coming later, even if I never see it. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. He feared God more than Pharaoh. Through faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them. So through faith he told everybody, hey, I know it sounds weird, but we're going to have to kill a lamb. You're going to smear its blood over your doorpost. They're probably like, what is this guy talking about? But because of that, they still even practice the Passover. It still keeps going on through that. We even take part in a little bit from that because Jesus at the Passover changed it a little bit. So by faith, they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians essaying to do were drowned. You see an ocean split. You see a lake out here just split in half. You don't know why. There's no walls. There's no anything. Do you walk across it? You're going to be like, I don't know, at any second. I don't even know what's holding this thing. What if I step on it and it breaks and then the water comes down? Because you don't know. But by faith, they did it. By faith, the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. You know they had to think a little bit. This is pretty weird. Every day we wake up and we march around this city 7 times and then we go stop. And we've done this for 6 days now. I wonder what's going to happen. And then they blew the trumpet and the walls came. And they're like, oh, they kept doing it anyway by faith. It was very weird. They didn't really know what was going to happen. By faith, the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. And what shall I say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon and of Barak and Samson and of Jephthah and David also and Samuel and other prophets. He's saying, I think you get the picture on faith and how he got it here. They're wrapping it up a little bit. Who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions, quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed valiant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Not really aliens like these flying saucers, but foreign people weren't from the land. So he's saying all these great things were done through faith. But here's where it changes a little bit. Women received their dead raised to life again. That was good. And others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection. At any time God would have killed them, or at any time God would have taken them up, sent legions of angels to help them. But they didn't call that. Like, no, we're going to stay here and suffer for your name, so we get the better resurrection from it. And others had a trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover of bonds and imprisonment. Wasn't always fun to be a follower of God. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, means sawn in half. Were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. And all these poor people that went down, they suffered persecution. And they wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth, not having a city, not having a house, not having anything hardly, barely clothes to put on them. But they did that all for a hope of the better promise, to keep the faith alive and going, to get it to the point where it was here. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise. They even didn't get it after going through all of that. God having provided some better thing for us, that they without us should not be made perfect. Why? Because now they got the promise. They were the lucky generation, the one he's talking to right now, that got the promise of Jesus coming down and seeing him. All he's doing here in Hebrews is showing them that the promise has been fulfilled, and now you're going to have to keep that same faith, because the faith just came to us this time. Moving right along. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, plenty of people were here, and some of them were even the ones who've seen Jesus and were with him and seen the miracles. Let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. So it's not over. Just because you got the promise, it's fine. Now there's more work to be done. Now there's a job. Now there's proof and evidence. It becomes less faithful when you've actually seen it. So you don't have to believe in things unseen, because now a lot of them had seen it. Looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. For consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied and faint in your minds. Ye have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin. So what he's saying here, consider him that endured such contradiction of sinners against himself. He endured the sinners, and he did it for them anyway. He knew that they were sinning, he knew they were going to mock and spit on him, but he had faith and through his job to do. So he's saying this, consider him and all that he went through. So when you get, spit on, you don't go crying and be like, oh no, sin, being Christian so hard. Like it's not hard right now. You've not resisted unto blood like this guy did. So consider him before you get weary and faint in your minds and just give up on all this stuff. Ye have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, nor faint when thou art rebuked of him. For whom the Lord loveth he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. If ye endure chastening, God dealeth with you as sons. For what son is he who the Father chasteneth not? So he's saying here why God is kind of starting with him, why he's been rough on him kind of lately. He's like, because you deserve it. You need this. This is why I'm writing this letter. But that comes from Proverbs chapter 3, 11 and 12. My son, despise not chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction. For whom the Lord loveth, he correcteth, even as a father, the son in whom he delighteth, does it. But if ye be without chastisement, wherefore all are partakers, then ye are bastards and not sons. So if they were just walked around doing whatever they wanted to, and God never punished them, whatever. Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we gave them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and live? You listened to your dad when he spanked you. You should probably listen to God, who is the God of your fathers, when he does correction to you. For they barely for a few days chasten us after their own pleasure. If you break something of your dad's and he spanks you and he's mad at you, makes you work for a few days to pay him back, it's chastisement, sure. But he, for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. So God does it for a little bit different reason. He does it to keep you in line, because he wants you holy. He wants you to be as close to perfect as you can. Now, no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous. When you're getting spanked, you're not having fun. When you're working out and running and doing all that stuff, it's not necessarily fun a lot of the times. It's hard. But you're not doing it because you like the feeling right then. You do it because you like the feeling after. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. They didn't like it's weird, even preaching and teaching and doing everything. No one likes to go up and preach a funeral. No one likes to go out in the street and cry out for Jesus. It feels weird. It feels awkward. The dudes might hit me in the face with a brick. Some of them got stoned. Some of them got all that. That part wasn't joyous. They didn't have fun doing that part. But they did it because they know that afterwards, they're going to be glad they did it. They're going to have the reward of it. They're going to feel better. So it's not fun going through it, but the reward is the point of all of it. Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down and the feeble knees, and make straight paths for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. Follow peace with all men, and holiness, without which no man shall see the Lord. So this right here is saying make the path straight and also make it easy. Don't make it super hard to become a Christian. Don't make it super hard for anybody who wants in to become in with all of it. Let them in so the lame don't get turned away, and help each other. Help each other on the path. Follow peace with all men and holiness. Looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of God. Here's where I get a little bit of a smack in the face. Lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. When I read the news and when I look and hear about all these things that are going on, I'm like, self-admittedly, I'm like, why doesn't somebody just kill these people? That's unbiblical. I shouldn't think like that. I'm like, when are people just going to get over it? And I get angry thoughts. I'm like, this is stupid. When people are following this or supporting them, like, this person's stupid, just needs to be punched, needs to be beat up. That's bad thoughts. You shouldn't do that. And it even says right here, you got to look diligently to the grace of God. Or once a little trouble starts happening, you lose that grace and you become defiled with anger, with wrath, with all this. I'm just using it for my example. When I see all this, I'm just like, what is this? Like, what are we doing here? And why are we not killing everybody? But because God says not to. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. So remember, I asked you if you knew that story. You said you did. So Jacob and Esau, they both got the blessing. Esau was like, yeah, whatever. I'm really hungry. I need a bowl of soup. Why? Because he was hungry, troubled, broken down a little bit, needed it to the point where he gave up all that he had just for one little drop of comfort again. They're Esauing us. They're making you give up everything in your birthright, your rights, your all of this for one little drop of comfort again. And this is biblical warning. Don't do that lest you be defiled because you just want one little thing back. I take away 10 things. I say you get to pick which thing you want back, your favorite. And now you go around like, oh, look, they let me have this. No, they took all that from you and gave you one little thing back. It's not letting you have it. It's different. Anyway. For ye know how the afterward, and this is why it's important. For ye know how the afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected. Because he took that one little piece of comfort, gave up the birthright, now he was rejected. He can't come back to it. For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. Choices to be made. He made a horrible choice to the point where God didn't even accept his repentance. It says it right here. He sought it with tears, but he did not get it. Why? Because God hates when you give up stuff for something little. That was your birthright all the way down from the beginning. I won't say God hates it because it doesn't say God hates it, but if he doesn't forgive it or lets you repent from it, I'd imagine he doesn't like it too well, does he? For he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. He didn't say, God, forgive me. Oh, I don't feel forgiven. No, well, no, he felt really bad for doing all this. He knew he made a mistake. He knew he messed up. But even still, he made up with Jacob a little bit. They ended okay. But with God, I don't know how it worked. And that is the warning he's given here. For ye are not come into the mount that might be touched, and that burned with fire, nor into blackness and darkness and tempest. And the sound of a trumpet, and the voice of words, which voice they that heard entreated that the word should not be spoken to them any more. It's like you haven't even heard the voice of God yelling at you like they did back in Moses' day. That's why God's kind of scary when he talks. And I know Eric's went through and like he is a calm whisper. He does say some things. But back in the day, and sometimes you don't want God talking to you because it's scary and violent and nature can't handle it. So some weird things happen. And that's what they went through. They were like, listen, that was super scary. We don't want God talking to us anymore. We want him to talk to Moses. And we'll listen to you, Moses, but God's scary. He's going to kill us. And that comes from Exodus 20. It's like, and all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. They're like, oh, okay, we're getting out of here. They said unto Moses, speak thou with us, and we will hear, but let not God speak with us, lest we die. So he's like, God's going to kill us if he keeps talking, because things go crazy when that happens. And Moses said unto the people, fear not, for God is come to prove you. And his fear may be before your faces, that ye not sin. It'd be a pretty effective measure against sin when you see God talking to you and everything's going crazy. And you're like, I'm not making that mad, because that was pretty intense. And the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near into the thick darkness where God was. Moses didn't care. He said, I'll do it. I'll go talk to him for you. For they could not endure that which was commanded. And if so much as a beast touch the mountain, it shall be stoned or thrust through it with a dart. And so terrible was the sight that Moses said, I exceedingly fear and quake. So even Moses was scared, but he did anyway. And any animal or whatever that touched that mountain, they're like, we want nothing to do with that. So they killed it. Think about how scary that was and all that back then. But ye are come unto Mount Sion. You're not going to that mountain to talk to God. You're at the new mountain. And unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, and to the innumerable company of angels. It's different. To the general assembly and church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to God the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect. You get to come into this mountain now. Don't mess this up. Don't give up your birthright that got you in here in the first place for a little morsel of meat or something, for a little bowl of stew, for a little freedom or rights back or whatever. Don't give all that up. Just don't give all this up just for that, is what I'm saying. And to Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant, and to the sprinkling of blood, or the blood of sprinkling that speaketh better things than that of Abel. Even though God liked Abel's sacrifice and Cain was jealous of it, this is better now. You get a better promise than even that. See that you refuse not him that speaketh. For if they escape not who refused him that spake on earth, much more shall we not escape if we turn away from him that speaketh from heaven. So they didn't listen to the people on earth, they got punished. If they don't listen to the voice speaking from heaven, how much more do you think they're going to be punished? Whose voice then shook the earth, but now he hath promised, saying, Yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. He's like, oh, don't worry, you'll hear from me again. And you think last time was scary. You just wait until the next time I come back and talk to you guys, right? And this word, yet once more, signified the removing of those things that are shaken. So what was the point? Why is God going to come back and shake up the earth and the heavens? Because anything that falls off didn't deserve to be there in the first place, and it's going to be cast out. As of things that are made, and those things which cannot be shaken may remain. That's why it's very important. Don't be shaken here. Don't be twisted and convinced to give up your birthright. You got to stand fast. You got to stand firm. You think it's bad now. It was really bad in those times for them. And that's why this message is being given unto them. But if you think it's really bad now, it's going to get a whole lot worse. I promise there's things happening. It's going to make all the things we've been through the past 2 years seem like cake that we went through. Wherefore we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, let us have grace, whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. For God, our God, is a consuming fire. He needs to be more Christ-like, right, Eric? No, he's a consuming fire, and he really doesn't, probably super doesn't concern himself with your opinion of him, to be honest. It's coming back one way or the other, and you either get with it and bend the knee to God, or you're bending the knee to other people and breaking his number one commandment. But that is Hebrews 12. Yay.